celebrating our annual homecoming service here at Afton Chapel. We are celebrating 126 years of Afton Chapel. As a 120 years of that has been held in this very chapel, this very building we are sitting in right now. That is over 120 years worth of people sitting in those very pews you were sitting in this morning. Over 120 years worth of people hearing the gospel preached. That is over 120 years worth of pastors that have stood on this same stage that I am standing on today. They stood behind this very podium that still sits here today. Nothing has changed. This is the original pulpit. This is the original podium. And so for me, that is a very humbling thing to consider. I am almost at awe at times when I sit back and it's like I think of all the people that have sat in these pews, all the people that have stood behind this very pulpit that is to simply proclaiming the gospel. It is an honor for me to stand where like so many others have stood before. And it's just on a funny side, just try to think for a second that back 120 years ago, when this building was built, people actually rode their horse here. They would ride their horse here, they would tie them up out front, or it's the people would just simply walk. It's the people would walk down off the mountain, they would walk down out of the valley, and they would meet here in the same building on Sunday mornings. There used to be an old stove right there. There's still the old chimney where I think to heat this place. It's just neat for me to think about what the history of this building. Well, its homecoming services are designed to be a time to reunite with old friends, meet up with some new friends, catch up with some family members that you may not regularly see. And it's a time to tell old stories and to laugh at old stories. And if y'all have any old stories, feel free to tell me. I love to hear about the history of this church. It's like homecoming services are also a time to take a moment to remember those loved ones that are no longer here, those that have gone on to be with the Lord. It's like to top it all off, homecoming services are a time for lots and lots of good food, right? We are all sitting here this morning being forced to smell good food while you happen to listen to me preach. But it's what's like the whole intent for a homecoming service. It is a time of celebration, and it is a time to reunite. And it's a time to remember the past while also forging into the future. Now, there's a story in the New Testament that kind of resembles a homecoming service. Because see, Jesus had left his hometown, and Jesus had started his earthly ministry. And it's probably about after a year he was in his ministry, Jesus returns home to his hometown of Nazareth, and he goes back to his home church. He goes back to his home synagogue, and he stands up and he starts to preach. And there's no harm there. He goes back home and he preaches his first sermon back in his hometown. But instead of a celebration and instead of a meal after his sermon, something else happens. Something else that is far from a celebration. And so turn with me in your Bibles to the book of Luke, chapter 4. And if you're using one of the Pew Bibles, it's on page 753. But it's Luke chapter 4. And the verses we're going to be reading are verses 16 through verse 30. Luke chapter 4, verses 16 through verses 30. So he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. As his custom was, it said that he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and he stood up to read. As he was handed the book of the prophet Isaiah, when he had opened the book, he found the place where anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, the recovery of sight to the blind, to set liberty to those that are oppressed, and to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. Then he took the book and closed it, and he gave it back to the attendant, and he sat down. That's it. All the eyes of all those who were in the synagogue, it says, were fixed on him. And wasn't he began to say to them, today, this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing. So then, all bore witness to him. This is that they marveled at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they started to say, is this not Joseph's son? Then he said to them, you will surely say to me this proverb. That's a physician, heal yourself. Whatever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in your home country. Then he said, surely I say to you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you truly, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the heavens were shut up for 3 years and 6 months, and there was a great famine throughout all the land. But to none of them was Elijah sent except to Zarephath in the region of Sidon, to a woman that was a widow. That's to say that many lepers were in Israel at the time of Elisha the prophet, and none of them were cleansed, except for Naaman the Syrian. That's to say, all in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath. And so they rose up and they thrust him out of the city, and they led him to the brow of the hill on which their city was built, that they might throw him down off of the cliff. As they did, passing through the midst of them, he went his way. Somehow he gets to escape this mob. But as most scholars believe that this is the first sermon that Jesus preached inside his hometown. This is the first sermon he preached back at his home church. Even though he had taught there many times 30 years, even though he had taught there throughout his childhood and throughout his young adulthood, this was the first time that he went back there and he preached since the official start of his ministry. He is now official. He has been baptized by John the Baptist, and it's like the Spirit of God descends down on him. He is now anointed as God. He is now no longer just a teacher. He is now the preacher. That's like, so to summarize Jesus' first sermon back at his home church. Jesus gets up and he preaches, and so when he's done, well, the congregation decides to throw him off a cliff. It's like, all I can guess is the only thing that is punishable about that is to preach past 12 o'clock. I mean, what else would it be but to preach past 12? That's the only thing that can get a preacher thrown off of a cliff. And it's like, I was thinking when I was reading this that if anybody invites me to the Overlook after church, I'm not going. I'd have called on to a trick. But as reading this story, it does take me back to my first sermon. Back when I preached my first sermon, the first sermon that I preached, I got the privilege to preach it inside of what at that time was our home church. This was a church we had served at for years, and I got to preach my first sermon to a group of people that I was familiar with. And so most of you have heard me tell this before, but I still have a copy of my first sermon on a CD that is laying beside a shelf beside my bed. And so my first sermon was almost five years ago now. It's almost hard to believe, but time goes by that fast. But it's been almost 5 years. And to this day, I still refuse to listen to that CD. I have still never listened to my first sermon. I cannot bring myself to listen to it. It just makes me cringe. It makes my stomach hurt to think about listening to my first sermon. I can't imagine putting myself through that kind of punishment. It almost makes me feel sorry for the people that had to sit through it. But I've often thought too, that's like one day that CD is going to be worth a lot of money after I get famous and I write a lot of books. And it's like I get to pass that CD down to my kids, and then they can be like, here lies the first sermon of Pastor Scott Campbell. This is the original first copy. It's going to be worth a lot of money. That's just my wishful thinking. But to get back on a serious note, just to get back on track this morning, we do have to ask ourselves the question, what did Jesus say that morning? What did he say that day that was so bad that it made the congregation want to kill him? What did he say that made the synagogue, the church that morning, literally want to throw him off of a cliff? I mean, that is harsh. That is a lot more than, hey, hey, preacher, you went over time. We're going to have to reprimand you. These people were going to throw him off of a cliff. What did he say that morning that was so bad? Actually, there's two things in the sermon that gets him in trouble. That's like, if you notice, his sermon is broken up into two different parts. There's two different parts to his sermon that he preached. First, it says that he reads a section of scripture from the book of Isaiah. And so then second, he gets back up a second time and he starts to preach. And it's like both of these get him in trouble. He gets in trouble kind of at both points of it. But the section of scripture that he reads from the book of Isaiah is what's called a messianic prophecy, which means these verses out of the book of Isaiah is a prophecy that is foretelling of the coming of the Messiah. Jesus is reading what Isaiah wrote 600 years earlier, saying these are going to be the signs of the Messiah. And so after Jesus gets done reading these, he sits down. It's like he looks at the people, and it's like he says, hey guys, the verses that is written here, these verses are about me. These verses are talking about me. I am him. I am the Messiah. Here, Jesus is telling all of Israel that he is the promised Messiah. These verses just came true right before your eyes today. You are getting to see the Messiah. And it's like then when Jesus preached, I read that. What is interestingly enough, though, this isn't what gets the crowd in an uproar. Jesus just claimed to be God. He just claimed to be the Messiah. But this is not what got him in trouble to the point of being put to death. That's like at least not yet. Now, like in a couple years later, too. Basically about 2 years after this sermon, he does get put to death for these words. But as for the day, all these words that he just said did was, it just made the crowd fixated on him. Jesus just simply caught their attention. Jesus caught them off guard. It kind of made them start saying things, and the people started asking things like, that's like, hey, isn't this Jesus, that carpenter's son? Isn't his dad Joseph? Isn't his dad Mary? I can remember little baby Jesus when he used to run through the aisles of the synagogue in his diaper. I can remember changing his diaper in the nursery. What's he talking about? He's the Messiah. But the people didn't want to kill him yet for claiming to be God. All the people did was they just simply doubted him. We see that the people, they just simply didn't believe him, and the people just kind of shrugged it off, and they just kind of went on with their ways. Like, yeah, this crazy guy, I mean, we've known him since he was born. Who's he saying that he's the Messiah? Now, it wasn't until his encore sermon, it wasn't until his second time when he stood back up, or it's part 2 of his sermon, that the people wanted to kill him. Let's like to summarize what Jesus says in the second part of his sermon here real quick. What's like in part 2 of Jesus' sermon, he really throws down the gauntlet here. He really drops the hammer on the crowd here when Jesus says, just like in the days of Elijah and Elisha, those great prophets, that's like because of Israel's disbelief, we saw that the mighty prophet's powers left Israel, and it's like they started to go out to the Gentiles. That's like Jesus is telling this synagogue, he's telling all of Israel, that's like because of your disbelief here today, that's like actually really every day, because see, the people of Israel had never changed from the old days. Jesus is saying, because of your disbelief, I am now going out to the Gentiles. I am leaving out of Israel. That's like, I'm not going to leave you. What is I am bringing some other people in? Because see, the Gentiles will leave me. Because see, that the Gentiles want to hear my message. They want to hear about my love. They want to hear about my grace. Jesus is simply telling all of Israel here, since that you don't believe in me, I am bringing in someone who will. And these people are going to get to share in what you already have. Because see what Jesus is saying here, Jesus is saying that I came for everyone. I came for the Jew. I came for the Greek. I came for the Gentile. I came for the sinner. I came for the saints. I would love to hang out with you saints, but the problem is you saints don't believe in me. It's the sinners that believe in me. It's the sinners that want to hear my message. That's like John 3:16 says that whosoever believes in Jesus will have everlasting life. And it's like for us today, this morning, those are very beautiful words. Those are our promise of grace. That is letting us know that Jesus came to die for all of us. But it's to those in the synagogue that morning, to those people in his own church that morning, those words were enough to make them want to kill him. They literally wanted to throw him off of a cliff. Those words were unforgivable. And they're interesting there because Jesus can claim to be God, and the church can live with that. But to say that you are bringing in outsiders, you are bringing in people that don't look like us, you're bringing in people that don't act like us, you are threatening to bring in the outside world. How dare you? That we will kill you for. They were going to throw him off of a cliff simply because he says that I am offering my grace to everybody. It's like, although he did get to escape the mob that day, Jesus did miraculously escape that mob, and he continued on in his earthly ministry. Jesus would eventually die for those words just a couple years later. That's like in just a short it was 2 years after this, he eventually would die for those very words that he spoke that day. But here's the good news this morning. Through his death, because of his death, we now get to have life. Because see, we get to have life because he didn't stay dead. Jesus did not stay dead. Jesus rose again on the third day. Jesus defeated death. Jesus defeated sin. Jesus defeated every battle we will ever face. All of our sin, all of our guilt, all that junk, all that baggage that we go through in this life. Jesus took all of that stuff into the tomb. That's like when the tomb sealed, Jesus locked away all of that junk. But here's the awesome thing. That's like on the third day when Jesus rose, Jesus resurrected from the dead. Jesus came out of the grave, but he left all of that junk inside the grave. He left all of your sin inside the grave, all of your guilt back inside of that locked, sealed tomb, so it can never come back out again. And it's like we can have victory this morning because of Jesus, because of his words that day. We can have victory. And there is victory for everyone this morning, not just the Jews like the church thought that morning, but his victory is for everybody. His victory is for everyone every day. His grace is open to whosoever believes in him. That is John 3:16. That's the whole Bible in a nutshell. That for God so loved this world that he gave his son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. His grace is for whoever believes in him. And so if you have any questions this morning about that victory, or if you have any questions about this grace, and if you have never accepted this grace or this victory that Jesus, that's the only He can offer, feel free to talk to me throughout this day. I mean, I will be around. You can talk to me in private. I would love to talk with you. I would love to help you. I would love to share more about this with you. And I would love to walk you through it. Let us close the prayer this morning.